If you don't know your numbers, you literally can't make decisions. Doesn't mean that they're actually worthy of your time on your calendar. The better numbers that you have, the higher your connection percentage. Just because you have a CRM doesn't mean that it's going to do anything positive for your business. It might actually be doing something more detrimental. The more that you can optimize for not talking with people who will never buy your shit will make you a much happier business owner. But good coaches do whatever it takes to get the players to where they want them to be, and they work as the player likes. People who are on like LinkedIn and Indeed applying to sales jobs don't have sales jobs. Why do they not have sales jobs? They're not good at sales. This is the biggest part of this whole equation here, guys. Well, before we get started, what are you guys at like revenue sales team wise, just so I know how to address and what's relevant?
No sales team.
No sales team? Okay. Okay, got it. Okay.
We're going to want to start running ads, which we want to do pretty soon. So.
Yeah, okay. So this will be valuable. Just treat yourselves as a sales team in this and like building for the future. So we'll wait to get started here. But
what if you're not at 1 million a month yet?
Well, if you implement the stuff that Andre just talked about, you'll get there closer. But you want to have $1 million sales team before you have one, because you can't get to one unless you have it, right? And we've built and scaled a bunch of them. So, oh, there we go. You need to listen to this the most, dude. Come on, dude.
I got my laptop to take notes.
Well, cool, guys. So you guys probably all know me as a coach in Client Ascension for appointment setting, booking more appointments on your calendar, cold calling, sales in general. So I'm going to be going through these topics today. So why, when you need them, when it's the right time to get a setter, and when you do, what are they going to be doing in your business and what you should be having them do in your business. Tracking, to piggyback off of what Andre was talking about. If you don't know your numbers, you literally can't make decisions without data, right? And as Dan probably knows the most, and probably Daniel as well, salespeople suck at tracking metrics, so how do you make it easy to allow them to track? And then what metrics do you track, right? There's a whole bunch of sales metrics out there. How to set up your sales systems to optimize for your sales team's efficiency, right? How do you get more out of each rep? And then how to identify sales constraints within your business, because you probably have a couple of leaky holes in your business across all different departments, but understanding what are the key constraints from a sales perspective, right? Is it a setting problem? Is it a targeting problem? Is it a messaging problem? Is it a closing problem? Like, what is it? And actually understanding those, and then how to actually hire salespeople. And then more importantly, like what Andre was just talking about, is how you compensate them correctly, right? What makes sense with your business model? What makes sense with the person that you're hiring for? So you can actually get the best rep at the compensation that you can actually have in your business with where your business is at today. So who am I? You guys all know me. That's me at the last Client Ascension event. I've been in sales for a long time, 12 years. Door knocking, sold cars, SDR, cold caller, director of sales, 30-person sales team, 25 million in sales to date, and I've trained hundreds of salespeople. So that is me, why you should listen to me. So why do you actually need setters in your business, right? It's not just someone who books appointments for you. So I know in the name appointment setter, it can be pretty deceiving because they're supposed to set appointments, right? But there's so much more that's involved in setting appointments is your show rate, right? You can implement them into increasing your show rate, whether they set that meeting or they didn't set that meeting, right? If someone comes to your funnel or someone clicks on your link in bio or you post a piece of content and they book a meeting organically, that person, that salesperson, that setter should be calling that person and confirming the information, right? Because just so someone books on your calendar doesn't mean that they're actually worthy of your time on your calendar, right? So they are the lifeblood of your sales organization, right? They're the gatekeepers of who can and cannot purchase your product or service. I'm sure all of you guys, with where you're at, you've had clients that you don't like. How great would it be if they just never were able to become your client? And you had someone that filtered those people out for you, right? And probably all of your problems in your business come back to the wrong person booking a call and then you selling the wrong person, right? Because you want to get revenue in the company, right? So another question for you guys is right now, literally in this instance of time, how much money is sitting in your CRM? Like right now.
8 figures.
Like literally, there are people, literally you have all of their information, you know who they are, what they do, how much revenue they have, what industry they're in, and they're sitting in your computer right now in the cloud, on your phones. You could literally call these people up and close them. And like think about all the people that you've had sales calls with over the last year. How many of those people are you diligently following up with? Probably 0 or close to 0. Or if you maybe made a task back in the day, you're going to follow up with them. An appointment setter is someone who's going to be able to go into your leads. Have you spoken with them? Have they opted in and never booked a call? Did they book a call? They didn't pay for you. They didn't become a client. They're going to be able to go into your CRM and diligently call every single person. Like you don't have to run ads. You do not have to send any more cold emails. You literally have clients in your CRM right now. So that is one of the biggest things that people don't deploy appointment setters. They only want them for like new leads and new opt-ins and cold calling and finding new people. But you literally have clients right now. So you guys have your computers, like check. there's probably people in those 2 computers right there that will give you cash in this month. So that is one of the biggest things that you should be deploying a setter or a salesperson, or in this instance, knowing where you guys are at, you guys should be doing this. Like block out an hour every week to just go back into your pipeline and call the people on your personal cell phone, call them through your VoIP dialer and like Close or GHL, call them from different numbers, text them, follow them on Instagram, like their shit. Like, what else are you gonna do, right? So that is a massive part of that, of getting a setter, right? Any questions on like how to do that, how to extract deals in your CRM? Yes.
Is the goal there to set up another appointment, like another meeting?
Yeah. So if it's an appointment setter, that's not you as a business owner, absolutely, right? They're trying to re-engage that person, reaffirm that the problems that they did have, they're still having, book that appointment. But you guys are business owners, right? You guys can take the thing the whole way. So take it as long as it needs to go. Like sometimes you're like, oh yeah, I just totally forgot like what you guys do and what you're about. Like you forgot about them. They forgot about you. So book the meeting, send a proposal, do an audit, a loom, like whatever's required, I would say. Just any touch points, because they literally don't remember you, as you just haven't remembered them. Any other questions on how to extract money in your CRM? Do you all know that you have like 6 figures sitting in your CRM right now? Does that make you sick? Like sick to your stomach? And like literally you don't have to do anything else. You've already done the hard work. They're literally in your CRM. Just driving that home for you guys. Go. Awesome. So the next thing is metrics, right? What are you tracking and what should you track? And why does it make sense to track that? So from the setter or the top of funnel perspective, obviously how many new leads you're generating is a very important number, right? Where are you generating those leads from? Which is more of an attribution, right? So if you guys are running ads, make sure you have UTMs that are coming through of letting you know which ad this person came from or which variation or which creative of this ad set is coming through your CRM. If they're coming from your link in bio, you should be tracking that as a UTM source. You can do link in bio as a UTM so you can know who's coming from your socials, or you can see the date and then go back to your content and understand, okay, this type of content actually booked me a call and it's a good call. I should probably make more of that type of style content. From there, how many leads per setter? That's probably a future metric for a lot of you guys, right? Is understanding how many leads can your setter confidently use and distribute and actually diligently work. Because if you have 1,000 leads coming in a month in one setter, that guy's going to be toast, right? Like, he's not going to be able to call each of those leads 7 times, make 7,000 dials in a month, plus confirm calls, plus do emails, plus do texts, plus, right? And then understanding how many dials per day per setter, right? Understanding how much volume is this individual or you guys individually. What is your inputs to outputs? So understanding that if this person or you are doing 100 calls per day and you're getting the rest of these metrics that we'll go into, and I'm getting X number of revenue per X number of activity, it's a pretty linear way to scale, because I know if I do 100 dials a day, I book X number of meetings, I have X show rate, then I have X close rate, and then X revenue per client, and I want to get to this revenue mark, then I just make more dials. And then I book more meetings, I have more shows, I have more closes. And then understanding how much activity a salesperson can do per day, and then just aligning headcount with activity. If I need to do 500 dials a day to hit our goal, and a salesperson can only do 100 dials a day, I need 5 salespeople. So understanding these metrics, as you can see, is a reverse calculation and what you actually want, which is your Stripe screenshot, right? So from there, connection percentage. So this is specifically for outbound dials or warm or cold calling. So a connection percentage is not an indicator of sales talent. A connection percentage is essentially, if I'm calling John Smith and John Smith picks up, whether he picks up and tells me to jump off the Golden Gate Bridge, or he says, let's talk, let's book a meeting, those are both a connection, good or bad. Now, the connection percentage is going to be an indicator of the quality of data that you have and the quality of the technology you're using to do that dial. So if you guys are going to do a cold call, what are you guys going to be doing it off of? Like a CRM or your phone? 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 CRM? Both? Cool. So your phone is fine. You'll have your best connection rate with this. But if you're calling through like a close or a go high level, or if you have a dialer, they're all getting their numbers from Twilio. So if you think about cold calling in the same regards as cold email, right? Your domain has a score of how well it will be placed into an inbox, right? That's why we warm up our stuff. That's why we have all these tools to increase your placement and your inbox percentage. The same goes for cold calling, and that's why ListKit's going to be pretty good, because they have good numbers. The better numbers that you have, the higher your connection percentage. The more people you connect with, the more everything else you can have, right? If you're doing 100 cold calls and you're getting your leads off of Apollo, you're going to be calling the gatekeepers and like dial 1 for sales, dial 2 for marketing, or like put the extension of your party. Don't do that. That's a waste of time. That is an absolute waste of time. So a connection percentage, if you can get that anywhere above 12%, you're really good. You're in a really good spot. Now, if you hire a setter and you give them shit leads and you give them a shit dialer and their connection percent is 4%, that's not a setter's problem. That's your problem as a business owner, not giving them the correct tools to be able to do their job effectively. Cool. So once we got the connection percent figured out, the next percent is the conversation percent. So a convo is not if someone says jump off the Golden Gate Bridge. It's actually a conversation that you have with that person. There's back and forth, there's communication, there's feedback. Usually I say a convo is when you can get into what you guys do. As long as you can present your offer, what you do, how you do it, why you call them, the objective of the call, that's a convo. So now you want to track your connect to convo percentage. You're looking for about a 50% conversation percentage. Now, why are you tracking all these things, Dylan? Because when you have a setter and you're scaling a team, you have to understand what things are going wrong and going well. Just like the CEO dashboard, right? Everything is the same, right? You're tracking specific metrics because they matter, and then it's going to help you identify what is going well or not well in your cold calling or your calling in general. So if you have a really good connect rate, you're talking to a lot of people, but you're not being able to like progress that conversation, that's the intro, right? That means your setter or you guys suck at the beginning of your call, right? You're like low tonality, like, hey, this is John. Like, what? Click. Click. Hey, we do this for these people. Click. That's what you have to fix in your script. So from there, convo to qualified convo, is that an actual qualified person, right? There's a propensity to do business with that person? Yes. Now, how many of those conversations did you actually book or did the setter book? Those are the most important metrics because that's going to help you identify what in the cold call is going well or not well, right? If you have a good connection, low convo, the opener is bad. But if you have a good connect and a good convo but a bad booking percentage, that means you're not good at like tying the knot in the cold call, right? You're not actually portraying and conveying value to where they actually want to book a call. So that's a different part of the script that you need to fix. So all of these data points allow you to go back into your own calls or your setter's calls and listen to things, coach it, or tweak the scripts. Now I just threw a whole lot at you from right there. Any questions on that? Are any of you tracking these things? Probably not. I wouldn't expect you to. Yes?
For a conversation, are they just manually writing down like the end-of-day type form who they had a conversation with, or do they look in like their dialer and see like talk time over 1 minute for specific conversations?
How many calls are they doing a day?
100?
How many, or I guess how many convos on average do you think they have?
7, 8.
Easily write-downable. So they should have Apple Notes or whatever Google Docs, whatever, and they just should write down the people they actually had convos with, and then they should have notes on that convo. So if we look at like, this fucking resolution is insane. If we look at like an end of day report, holy shit.
No, I can see that clearly.
Yeah, what the it's taken like 8 minutes to even scroll on this shit, dude. Hold on, let me try to fucking zoom in. There we go. So if you look at like an end of day report, right? These are all the conversation notes. I guess someone talked to me, right? But these are all, that's closer convos. This is a setter, right? Right here, right? So 85 dials, 8 connects, 8 convos, 4 were qualified. He booked 2 of those 8, right? That's kind of low. So I would look into that if that's becoming a trend. And then conversation notes, these are everyone, right? This is their challenge, this was their goal, this is extra notes about that person. So every single day, as a business owner, you don't want to go into the CRM and listen to a bunch of cold calls and like look at the metrics and look at the dashboards. Like, boom, your end of day, you should just be able to see who they spoke to and then look at the notes, be like, why was this person not set? This person looks like a good fit. Let's go back and listen to that specific call, right? So you're being more intentional with your time. That help?
Yeah.
Sweet. Cool. Yeah.
How much, what's the percent that you want from the convo to like the actual booking? Because you said it was kind of low.
Yeah. So connect percentage, anywhere from like 8 to 15 is solid. Convo percentage should be around 40 to 60. And then convo to booking percentage should be around 20 to 40.
Yeah, I've heard 2 different like variations of cold calls. Some of them is like if you get a reply to an email or like from a cold email. So is this situation based on pure cold call, like just scraping a lead list, or this is based off like a cold email reply kind of interest?
I think you could do them. You can track them differently if you'd like. It depends if they're doing both, right? If they're just doing like email calls, then you would just track it like this, yeah. Cool. And then the most important part is now you got the meeting booked, the job is nowhere near finished. What is the show rate of the cold calls or the warm calls, right? How many of those shows are you giving an offer to? Don't offer every single person if they're not deserving of it. And then what is the close percentage, right? So these are all the metrics that I just mentioned. If you actually want to scale a sales team, you have to understand all of these metrics very intimately. So you know how many people to hire and where the constraints are, right? Cool. Questions?
So in this scenario, the setters are the same as like the person that's actually on the meeting. They're the ones doing the calling, and then they meet the first time, and then they funnel them to.
It depends. If you have like a triage system up where the setters also take in the meeting, or this would be for the closers show and close percentage. Or in your guys' situation, this would be you and you. Yeah. Cool. And then I think Crowley went through all the closer stuff, right? So I don't need to be redundant on this.
Not really metrics, just like
Okay.
actual sales call structure and closing the call, as
Okay.
opposed to like what numbers you want to see.
Cool. So on a closer, it's different metrics, but they obviously the same narrative is true, right? So the big thing as you're scaling ads while you're scaling your team is what is the capacity, right? If you don't have enough room on your calendar to book all the people who want to give you money, you are significantly kneecapping your business, which is why you hire more, right? Obviously, if you're running like a type info type product, you don't want to book anything outside of 4 days out. I would say maximum. Like all of your Calendly should not be able to be booked past 4 days. Because anything past 4 days is just gonna have a lower show rate. So optimizing for an immediate booking and then understanding as you're continuing to book calls, if your 4 days are booked clean and new people are coming in your funnel on your calendar, that they literally can't give you money. So now you need to hire someone to open your capacity for calls, right? From there, how many calls were taken, your show, and then you want to track show rate on like direct bookings, people who book directly, from setters, and then a combined percentage, right? So if you're understanding that your setters shows are like 10x better than like, you know, your ads, then you should be optimizing and prioritizing calendar space for the setters calendar bookings, right? Your offer percentage, your close percentage, and then close percentage broken down into different attribution channels. So where are we closing, or where do we have our highest close rate, right? Usually referrals will have your highest close rate, I hope. Cash collected, revenue generated, collected up front if you guys do a lot of payment plans and optimizing. Like if you're looking at, you have a team of closers, this guy collects all the money up front, this guy does a bunch of payment plans. I need to understand why this guy's allowing payment plans when this guy can easily do a PIF, right? And then collected long tail percentage, that's kind of an advanced metric, is like your revenue collections. If you're doing a payment plan, like how many people are actually paying and collecting all that money. I'm not sure how you guys do it in Client Ascension, but that's a salesperson's function, and my job is like making sure that the payment plans are being collected. That is a salesperson's job, because they get paid on a cash collected basis, right? Any questions on any of this? There's a lot.
Like, what's an ideal schedule look like for a closer? Number of calls, how much time they're spending with their CRM?
Yeah. So we have a couple of clients that we're like hiring closers left and right because of this capacity issue. And it's really just like having open and honest, transparent conversations with your closers of like, and also looking into the dashboard and like looking at your CRM, like how many people are actually being diligently followed up with. Because otherwise you're just wasting money, because not everyone closes on the first call. So if the closer doesn't have ample time or is unwilling to do the follow-ups, because that's actually where money's made, you got to understand where their capacity's at.
Yeah.
Or like,
Stacking with a bunch of new calls leaves some room for follow-ups and CRM work.
yeah. So we have them block in like an hour a day for follow-up, and they're at different times for different closers. Sweet. Oh.
Yeah, the dumbest version of all this, guys, is like call your lead.
Yes, the very, very simplified version of this.
Just call every phone number that you find.
Call everyone always, like forever. Just like make it a habit.
Also,
Like,
like for instance, if there's a, I remember telling this to someone, they were asking, they were running a lead gen agency, it's a cost per call, or pay per call. They were like, should I call the leads? I was like, how much money do you make every time a call go up $200? It's like, do you want $200 more? Then call the fucking lead. Like, yeah. Like, I was talking to Nick Abraham about this too. I was like, dude, what you need to imagine is you have like a portfolio of offers that you can just try to
question for you guys. How many times have you guys pivoted your offer, changed what you do, how you do it, and how you price it in the last 6 months? Okay. Have you called all the people that don't know you did that? What if they actually would prefer what you do now, but they didn't prefer what you used to do because you also didn't prefer it? So go back and call all those people. If you're changing your offer, who's the best person to test that offer on is people who already were genuinely interested in that thing in the first place. So instead of spinning up new cold email campaigns, writing new ads, doing all this new content, building a new landing page, new headlines, new funnels, just call the people who have already given you all the information that you're optimizing for and be like, hey, I know when we last spoke, we did X, Y, and Z. We're now doing this. Is that something that's more aligned with what you want? And they'll tell you yes or no and validate what you're thinking of doing instead of doing all the hard work and then realizing they don't want it anyway. So it's like a very cheap, cost-effective way to validate what you're selling and how you're selling it. Cool. So a little bit of an exercise, guys. Make sure you guys aren't falling asleep on me. Find something in here based on what we just talked about, and what would you do if you were a manager of the setter team? Who would you speak to about what things? Can you all see this? No? Well,
I actually have a general question.
you definitely can't because it won't zoom, but.
I have a general question. Just
Yeah.
about, I see Hannah has the highest connect to convo ratio.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that women actually have a higher connection, like the convo booking rate? Or not booking rate, but just connection to convo rate?
Yeah.
Is that extremely higher than like shop, I see?
Yeah, so women will have a little bit better of a connected convo because men want to speak with women more than they want to speak with another man. But usually, men do have more dials. Hannah's a savage, but yeah.
I see shop has a bad like connection, convo to booking percentage compared to like
Yeah.
how many people is actually having a conversation.
Obviously, Samir needs a talking to.
Yeah, Samir's red. He got fired. Yeah. Hopefully Samir's not watching this. But so Prosper.
Hopefully he is. He'll learn how to do a better job.
Yeah. So Prosper has the highest connection percentage, 37%, which is insane, by the way. Like that is an absolutely insane connection percentage. But is it because he just has the least amount of dials? Yeah. So like understanding where that metric comes from and why that metric is that thing, looking back at the things that contribute to that percentage, right? Now, why Hannah's the best person on this team is this metric right here. Her conversation to booking percentage is 85%. That means that everybody that she had a conversation with, 85% of those people are booking a call, when everyone else is like 30 to 50%. So as a manager, you need to be looking at Hannah's calls, listening to what is she doing that the other people aren't doing, right? Like they're both at the same convos here. He's booking more. And you're seeing who's doing the most of the down funnel things are the people that are getting the best results. And also understanding the dials to booking. So every 9 outbound dials Hannah does, she books a fucking meeting. That's insane. Like, how do we get Hannah to make more dials? How do we optimize for the things that we actually know are working? And then unoptimizing for the things that don't matter, right? So you should be tracking everything just like this. And I can share you this exact spreadsheet after this. But cool. I think I kind of went through all this stuff already, just speaking out loud. Awesome. Any question on metrics?
Do you think Hannah only made that many dials because she was booking so many calls?
Yeah.
So she was like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna just keep going, I'll just book more.
Yeah. And then she actually, so she had the smallest amount of talk time for booking as well, which is something that's not on that sheet. But when you try to go into it, like some people that were booking meetings, it was like an 8 to 15 minute conversation. She was booking calls in like 3 minutes. So she was much more intentional and poignant and more successful because she was able to book more with less volume.
I don't know if this is what you're about to go into, but you maybe talk about what it looks like going founders doing their own sales with maybe poor or no CRM discipline to actually having all of this built out and tracked?
Yeah.
What are the steps to get there?
So treat yourself as the sales rep you're about to hire. Like hold yourself to the same standards, track the things, because how are you going to ask somebody, or even how are you even going to know if they're good at their job if you are not doing it yourself first?
And where would you start with like implementing that? So is it like putting an hour on your calendar every day to, start putting things in the CRM and making sure the data's clean where you weren't doing that before?
Yeah. And the only way you can extract money out of your CRMs right now is if you actually know what buckets to go, right? So we'll get into this, but kind of it's relevant right now is classifying your leads that don't give you money almost even more stringently than the ones that do. So what do I mean by that? So having classifications and sub-granularity reasons on why they didn't move forward. So the big ones is BANT, budget, authority, need, and timeline. So budget, do they have the budget to give you to pay for your product or service? Authority, are they the decision maker? Are they someone who would actually sign the contract? Need is, do they actually want what you sell? And then timeline is, are they going to be able to move forward in your timeline? So understanding what your deal cycle is. So if you have a 30-day sales cycle, if they're outside of that, they're a no timeline fit. So if someone's not able to move forward with me, I classify them as they are closed lost budget, closed lost authority, closed lost need, and closed lost timeline. So if you guys change your pricing, you go to the budget bucket and you call them. Or if you're doing a discount or whatever, you go to the budget people because you know that the budget was the sticking point. Authorities, you should do more prospecting because they're not the right person. Need is kind of dead leads because they just don't want what you do. And then, so budget and timeline are your two biggest buckets that you should be going back to very frequently.
If you have a call with somebody and then you schedule a follow-up, they said they went somewhere else, and then you ask them, can you explain why they don't do that? What do you classify them as?
Well, you can kind of judge from the first call, what is their biggest objections. Okay. Yeah. So if they're oh, can I do a discount or can we do percentage? Those are budget people, right? Cool. So this is your non-negotiable tech stack. You need a CRM. If you don't have a CRM, get one yesterday. It doesn't have to be something fancy. You have to be able to track things in a CRM, right? Slack, all of you have Slack. I think we're good on that one. If you're going to be actually doing outbound dials, you're going to have to get a dialer. I would recommend Alloware. Personally, it's under $100 per user per month. Zapier, 1,000,000%. You probably all have this. You probably all have project management software being in Client Ascension. You all have a Calendly, email capabilities, and then lead tech, right? So funnels, list kit, data, whatever that might be, right? Do all of you have these things?
Would you say dialer for all high levels that you would recommend?
So Close.io, GHL, whatever it is, they all use Twilio at the end of the day. They're all Twilio. So the way numbers work is there's a finite number of phone numbers in the wild. So they recycle phone numbers. So you could essentially buy a number in GHL. That number could have been an Indian call center before and it got recycled and you're inheriting that last whatever that was done. So each carrier, kind of like Gmail and Microsoft, they classify the number on their carrier and based on its reputation, will actually mark it as a spam likely call. You've probably seen all those on your phones, spam likely. How many spam likelies do you pick up? 0, always. So if your number is coming up as spam likely, that's why you have a low connect percentage. You could have Jordan Belfort on the phones, but if he's calling from a spam likely number, he's just not going to be successful. So making sure that your numbers are good, that's a big thing.
How do you test that? Just call people?
Call people on different carriers. I think there's a couple of free softwares that can do that as well. But I would just call someone with T-Mobile, call someone with Verizon, AT&T.
You're liking Alloware better than Kixie these days?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so CRMs right there. Now, a tech stack is only as good as it is cohesive within your business. right? Just because you have a CRM doesn't mean that it's going to do anything positive for your business. It might actually be doing something more detrimental than not having it all. Because if you're just putting all your leads in a GHL and you're not classifying them, you're not tagging them, you're not updating the pipeline, you don't have notes, you don't have tasks, you don't have your correspondence in there, what's the point? You're just wasting that subscription price. So every single lead in your CRM should be clean to the best degree. And the best time to do that is in the moment. Like a lot of you guys are probably like, oh, at the end of the day, I'll go back and clean my CRM up. Doesn't ever work. Because you don't remember everything. And it's actually more of a time suck if at like 7 o'clock at night, you're like, clean CRM, hour block. You got to go to everybody that you had a call with, everyone that you called, and like, what the hell did I talk about in that thing? Oh, let me go back and listen to my Read AI or my Fathom. Like, you're wasting time. Just take the extra 5 minutes, or like, don't double back to back yourself, right? Like, put a 15-minute buffer to do this. Because if you do a CRM correctly, you can literally just keep pulling from it. Like, how many people right now, like I said, could give you money in your CRM? A lot. But if you don't know how or where to find those people in your CRM, you can't do that.
So you updated like how often update CRM right after?
Mm-hmm. It sounds more time, like much more time intensive than it actually is.
Same with like a chat, for example, like we're talking to someone on Instagram, for example.
Screenshot it. Yeah. Or just.
Do you ever have the CRM open while you're on the call and punch in notes as you're on the call?
Yep. I do all my call notes in like Apple Notes. Like if you look at like my Apple Notes, like these are all my sales calls. Like this can scroll infinitely, and essentially I just copy paste into the CRM and hit save. It takes no time because you're all writing notes during the call, right? So just copy and paste those notes in the CRM. But cool. Questions on tech stack? No? Cool. Next thing is constraints. Where are the problems in my thing and understanding what is the correct constraint, right? Anecdotal and analytical stuff, right? How to investigate your CRM, right? Doing call reviews, doing more call reviews, right? Getting feedback on what is happening in every instance in your business from a sales perspective. What am I saying? How am I saying it? How is it being received? What objections and commonalities am I hearing from people on sales calls, positively and negatively? I don't know where Daniel went, but all of his greatest marketing is from sales. Daniel, where's all your best marketing hooks come from?
Hooks? Talking to people, like seeing what's the honest coaching call one? So I ask the question.
Yeah, from prospect feedback and customer feedback.
The best VSLs are from sales calls too. Just do sales calls, see what people ask.
Yeah.
Just answer the VSL.
Because if that person has that question, there's going to be at least one more person that has that same question about your product or service.
Yeah.
So if you're able to answer that question at a larger scale, you don't get that objection on a sales call if they fucking watch your videos and stuff. But that's a different question. That's a different thing. But reviewing your calls, right? Why did this person not close? And if you're having a lot of calls that aren't closing, sorry to break it to you, it's something that you're doing incorrectly. What can I fix? What is the feedback loop? When you have a sales team, you are no longer in full understanding of how your company is being portrayed, how objections are being handled, how they're going about price. Like how many call reviews do you do, Dan?
Like one day.
One a day. Do you have like one-on-ones?
Yeah. Bi-weekly.
Do you do call reviews in that one-on-one?
If I don't have anything to talk about with the person.
Yeah.
If I don't have like a preset agenda on it, I'll just open up a call review because it's probably the easiest way to have an effective meeting when there's not like one pressing thing that I need to talk about.
Yeah. Like how many of you guys have went back and listened to your sales call reviews? Good. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. On closes and not closes. right? Don't just listen to your highlight reel. This was a great sales call. You know? Yeah, I'm cooking on this one. Yeah. And like do call reviews specific to attribution. Like call reviews people who came from content. Call reviews people who came from ads, from cold emails, from referrals, right? And then analytical, knowing all of your numbers and then moving it down from the top of funnel, right? So like a big problem for us, we ran ads to a funnel with an opt-in page. All of our prospects are people who also run funnels. You guys run funnels, right? When you see an opt-in, what do you automatically know is going to happen as soon as you submit that thing? You're going to get crushed, right? You're apprehensive because you know the game. So the problem that we had was our opt-in was like 3 to 5%, which sucks. Terrible. 3 to 5% even CRVSL. Because I was like, dude, I don't want to fill in an opt-in. These guys are high-level business people we're targeting. They don't want to do it either. So we just removed the opt-in and just went straight to the VSL. If you liked what it is, you're able to book a call and fill out an application. And you literally got like a 30% application percentage from that. So we went from 3 to 30 by just understanding the constraint.
Was that mainly paid or organic?
Paid. Yeah. Cool. So what are the biggest sales constraints to look for, right? So speed to lead. How fast are you getting in touch with the people who want to get in touch with you? Tracking that, like he was talking about, right? That's on the CEO dashboard. After 7 minutes, it decreases by like a ridiculous percentage, right? There's a whole lot of stuff. You can go on like HubSpot and search speed to lead. Just call them as fast as possible. And if you're doing the email to call stuff, treat the email response like an inbound warm lead. Treat it like someone's like a referral. Call that person immediately because this is the only instance in time where your business, your offer, your logo, your everything owns the most mental real estate in that person's brain. They're thinking about you, they're thinking about what you do and your offer now, right? So call them when you own that real estate in their brain and you know that if someone's responding to a cold email, they're not busy. That's like the 9th thing that people do on their priority list. So you know that they're on their phone or on their computer and they do have probably 5 minutes. So call them immediately, right? Now, lead quality. Stop pitching broke people. Stop. Just stop doing it, right? The more that you can optimize for not talking with people who will never buy your shit will make you a much happier business owner, first and foremost, right? Understanding lead scoring, right? Make it binary. So having like an application funnel, getting as much information and relevant information. Don't just have a type form because someone told you to, like me right here. Only ask the questions that you actually need them to answer. And then routing it based on the information and the score. We have a 1 to 5 scoring, right? A 1 is a terrible lead, 2 less terrible, 3 is mid, 4 is good, 5 is amazing. We optimize for 3, 4s, and 5s. 1s and 2s get like email nurturers, right? How many leads are in your pipeline right now? And do you have scripts to go back to those people? That's what I'm talking about in the CRM, right? Where are they? How can we move them down our pipeline? Treat your pipeline like a funnel. You want people progressing. How many people are in the first stage of your pipeline, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, the seventh? You have to be pushing people down. Now, if you use Go High Level, there is a trigger for stale pipeline opportunities. Other CRMs have that as well. So, if somebody is in a stage for longer than X days, it will notify you or your salespeople. Like this lead has been in contact for 3 days. Like, get the fucking person out of in contact and either book them or disqualify them. So using your data to prompt sales activity. When was the last time that you reached out to them, right? You can look at it in your CRM, like your last activity date, sort by longest last activity date, make a filter, and just rip those calls. Get touch points on your people. Now, Another one is your alignment between sales and your marketing. That is probably what Daniel thinks about all the time. How can our marketing message better align with our sales process? The more incongruent or more incongruence your marketing message is to your sales process, the more people are going to buy your stuff. Because if they're like, you can do this is my guarantee, and then there's like, you don't even talk about on the sales call, or like the thing that hooked them in, you're not talking about on sales. They're like, this isn't what I thought this was. They get rugged, right? So making sure that your language around your offer and product is congruent across marketing, sales, and fulfillment. Is your marketing attracting the type of person that your sales guy is selling in a style that's wrong for that person? Maybe you don't have a closer problem. Maybe you don't have a sales problem at all. Maybe you're just attracting people that are not actually interested in how you sell your product, right? So think about those things, right? Was there a promise? Was there a guarantee? Was there an asset? What was the hook? And then living and being in your marketing messaging, right? Does this make sense? Good. What the fuck? All right. Rep performance, right? This is going to be how you perform for yourself as well right now, right? But thinking long term, right? Just because you don't have a sales team today doesn't mean you won't. And you don't want to do these things once you hire a human being. That's unfair to them. So start acting and operating as, nicotine just popping out of me. So confidence, consistency, coaching, leadership, all of these things are super important to your rep performance, right? We work with businesses that hire salespeople as literally our entire business model. I see all of this shit, right? Great thing that I talk about is, was it Phil or Michael? Was it Tom or Bill Belichick? It's both, right?
Nice analogies.
You need them.
Who was LeBron's coach? I think it was just LeBron.
I don't know. He fires them all. That's why he doesn't win any rings. He gets them fired.
LeBron just made 3 separate billion-dollar companies.
Yeah, great. Maybe you should be a business owner, not a basketball player. But good coaches do whatever it takes to get the players to where they want them to be, and they work as the player likes, right? Do you think Phil Jackson worried about Michael Jordan smoking cigars and drinking and gambling and playing golf? No, because he produced. So he wasn't on his ass about certain things, but he was on his ass about other things, right? So how do your salespeople actually like to get managed? You cannot manage every person the same. You have to understand how you can get the most out of that person, knowing that person's personality type and how they actually like to get managed. So, what does that mean? Giving what needs focus. Focusing on the correct things, right? How can you use your time, energy, and effort to learn about your salespeople, learn about your team, so you can coach and lead them better, right? What should you be delegating? What should you not be delegating? If the person doesn't get it, they don't get it. Stop trying to get the person to get it. You just need to cut ties and hire a new salesperson. And then the next salesperson, you know what you're looking for, and you get better at hiring, right? And then this is a good one, right? Put the pieces around them, right? So if you look at the Patriots, they always have a small white wide receiver in the slot, because that works with their playbook. That works, right? So continuing to hiring for. Now, the next thing in sales is understanding the people that you're selling to. What do they actually want to buy from you? This is more of offer stuff, right? Are you pricing this thing correctly to the people that you have on the phones, right? If you're attracting marketing agencies that have under 10 clients, but you're asking for $15,000 to $20,000, it's not in congruence with what they're looking to buy or what they even need, right? What do they actually want? And then just sell them what they want. So a good example with our own offer is we used to do outsourced SDR, right? Kind of like an outsourced lead gen agency. We'd work with a client. We'd be like, hey, we do the work of 3 SDRs. Just pay us this one thing. There was a month, 6 clients churned. And they said, hey, this is working great. We've now proven that this is a good, viable thing to do in our business. We want to take this thing in-house. right? All of you guys are agencies, right? At a certain time, always, the client will want to take things in-house. A client doesn't always want to pay an outside person to run their business and grow their company, right? So we changed our alignment to rather, we didn't want to be the girlfriend, we wanted to be the wife. So we wanted to be what they actually wanted, which turned away a lot of people, but now we were able to increase our prices and work with a better type client who actually was aligned with what we wanted to sell and work with, right? Questions on all that?
For the CRM,
Yeah.
like how often do you get rid of people from the CRM? Like, do you keep them for like months on months, or do you delete them for well?
No, we don't delete anybody in the CRM because they could always come back and you just have that data in general, right? Because maybe you create a low ticket offer and that person now becomes a relevant lead. You already put the time, energy, and effort to get that person in your CRM, and you don't pay, unless you're using HubSpot, you don't pay per contact. So I just put them in a closed lost, put them in a bucket. Cool. Now this is the original reason of my presentation, which we got to it finally, but how do you hire and compensate salespeople so you can get the best rep at what you're able to pay them today, given your business, right? So this is the most important question you have to ask yourself. Is your business attractive to a salesperson? If you're like, hey, I want a closer, but you book 5 sales calls a month, you're not going to get a closer. And if you do, he's going to be a terrible person because that's attractive to that person, right? So you need to make sure that your business is attractive to a good salesperson. Otherwise, you're going to attract a shitty salesperson, right? Be honest with yourself. Would you say yes to work for your own business? If you were looking for a job and you saw your own job posting, would you be like, I'm going to apply to this? If not, you need to fix some shit before you post another job posting, right? Have you done the tasks you were asking them to do successfully? Kind of what you were talking about, Matt. Is your CRM clean? Do you know your metrics? Have you done the thing you're asking them to do? Because if you haven't, how are you going to even understand if they're good at this or not, right? You don't hire a client success manager if you've never had a client. Simple stuff. Do you know what success looks like? The quality of the opportunity will determine the quality of the salesperson. How good of a quality opportunity is this? And that will determine the quality of the person that you're attracting, right? If you're looking to date a high quality woman, you have to be a high quality man. Simple stuff. Questions on that? Do you guys have an attractive company for a salesperson?
Need to make over.
Yeah, good. That's the whole.
It's another reason to have low ticket offers too. It's just easier to generate leads for.
Yeah.
Maybe you have like $1,000 to $2,000 one-time things. It's just so interesting. Let's say you have a recurring service, say it's like $2,000 a month, and if you just tell them you won't turn auto renew on, and to just do the first month, it works so much better. The first month of your service could just be a setup offer. Like absolutely everyone could do that. You just piece out a singular month or 2 months of your service, and that's just a one-time offer.
People are scared of long term.
Yeah, people
Yeah.
they don't like recurring and they don't like high upfront stuff. Those are the only 2 things people are scared of. People do not want recurring payments. So just give them something that and tell them it's not recurring, it's one time. And if they want to keep doing it, then just sell them month 2. Because they were going to churn in month 2 anyway if they didn't like month 1, so just sell month 1.
Yeah. Absolutely.
No, we got one question.
Question.
Yeah.
You guys transitioned into like girlfriend to wife, you said, like because they're recurring and they're gonna leave you anyways. So I have a question on that. Like, for us to have agencies, what would we do with that concept? Because that's a problem that we all have. Even if we're great, even
Yeah.
if we get great results, month 7, 8, whatever, like they're getting great results, they still leave at some point because they don't want to pay $2,000 every month. So what would be a good way to kind of either upsell or plan for that instead of just knowing they're gonna churn?
Yeah. Ask them what they actually want long term, right? So like, Lucero does a good job of this. He does cold email as a service. He also will build the system for them that's permanent. So like aligning products that you sell with what they actually want long term.
It's typically consulting, it's a little consulting.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll teach you how to do consulting yourself. But would that be your that'll be after their.
So there's two kinds of people who would otherwise be sold at. One is like you're on the phone with someone and they just don't want the done for you service. They don't want to pay monthly. They just want to know how to do it themselves. Just sell them that. Okay. Two is like, hey, I'm gonna take this in house. And it's like, okay, we have to know how to do it in house. So I can sell you consulting on how to do it. Just teach you how to do it.
It's also sometimes reverse. I actually see a lot more of the opposite where people start off the consulting, you're like, dude, this sucks, and then they want to go into done for you.
Yep.
So if you have like both those options available, like they start off and they're like, I love this, I want to take it, and then you can give them that offer, or the other way around where you're like, hey, you want to do it yourself, cheap or whatever, and then they run it for a month, like, dude, I hate this, or like they're just not good at it.
So you would recommend that every agency have a done with you offer?
Yes.
Have more things to sell to more people. Make more money.
Just sell someone exactly what they want to buy.
Yep.
Just be a little flexible. Yeah, it's just like, okay, I had a guy who closed on a 10K offer. I got him on a call for 3K a month done for you lead gen. He didn't want that, and I put a newsletter post like, hey, I can do a 10K one-time build out. He closed like in 5 minutes, right? And to me, that makes no sense. Like, why would you're paying more, and you're doing like I'm doing less, but he just wanted it in house. So it's like, okay.
Yeah. Congruence in your marketing and sales. Understanding your buyer, tight feedback loop, listening to people. Selling people what they want based on what they actually tell you instead of what we think is a good idea. Now, how do you find and hire salespeople, right? I use the term watering holes all the time. A watering hole is essentially where are the people that we want drinking from? How do we go to that watering hole and poach? Facebook groups, school communities, coaching programs, right? If you want a good sales rep, you should probably go to the place that they're learning sales, right? They're improving in sales. Where do they actually live, right? Don't make a sales post on like fucking, I don't know, ZipRecruiter. I don't think salespeople are on fucking ZipRecruiter, right? They're in Facebook groups, right? So where are they? And then go find them where they're at. You can also poach talent, right? Because if you think about it, people who are on like LinkedIn and Indeed applying to sales jobs don't have sales jobs. Why do they not have sales jobs? They're not good at sales. So try to find somebody who's selling a similar type offer and see if they like what they're doing. They're paid enough. You can poach sales talent, right? Now, how do you evaluate once you find the person? This is the biggest part of this whole equation here, guys. Just because you find a salesperson, he sounds cool, you have to actually make sure he can do your offer, right? If someone's been selling a $79 a month SaaS subscription and you want them to sell a $15K high ticket program, they have never sold that price point. Have they sold to your ICP? Have they been working with marketing agencies and now you're saying you want them to sell to CMOs of Fortune 500 companies? They just doesn't compute. They don't know that person, right? So you want to align their previous experience with what you're asking them to do, right? So having a pre-interview sequence, right? Having them do extra work. Because if they're unwilling to fill out, like Andre was saying, if they don't even fill out a tight form or they don't do the necessary steps to even get the interview, they're not going to do that shit when they're an employee. Mock calls. Give them a situation and then have them do it on you. That's going to see their preparedness and how good they are at disseminating information that you give to them and being able to speak it back to you, right? Why would you wait for them to do a sales scenario when they're using your leads? You got to make sure that they can do the thing before you allow them to do the thing. Now, intangibles, I'll do another football analogy, right? Football teams during the NFL Combine are looking at people's hand sizes, how much they can bench press, how fast they are, how high they can jump. That has nothing to do with football. That's intangible skills. They know if they have the intangibles, right? If you're an offensive lineman and you can rep 225 50 times, we can work on your footwork later.
Small hands.
Yeah. Small hands quarterback. Yeah. Intangibles for a salesperson is hunger, tenacity, coachability, and willingness to learn. Right? A setter needs to just be hungry and tenacious. You can teach them how to be good at sales. But you can't teach someone how to actually go out and be hungry for money. That's a skill that you're not going to be able to teach somebody. They have to want that shit, right? And then previous experience. Any questions on that?
So would you recommend hiring like a young setter or?
Yeah. Yep, a setter's half-life, not Anton, but usually it's around 8 to 12 month half-life. You don't want to be a setter for too long, but you also want to hire somebody who understands that they have to be a good setter before they can be a closer, right? So that's an intangible. Young, hungry, tenacious, works on weekends, does whatever's required. I'd rather have someone who's not good at sales but is super hungry than someone great at sales and lazy all day long. Cool. So now the big thing, right? How do you pay this person once they are in your business? Everyone wants this conversation. I want a commission-only sales rep. You can only do commission-only if it's inbound leads or warm leads. You can't have a commission-only cold caller. It could work. It's not going to work. I've done this hundreds of times. Commission-only works if you have leads. Now, base plus commission works for outbound stuff, right? Someone you're hiring to do cold DMs, cold calling, cold email, LinkedIn outbound. Base plus commission. The idea is that the base is going to account for the time that they're not doing revenue generating activities, right? If you're going to be doing any cold, you need a prospect. You need to do some legwork that's not things that put money in their pocket. So 1,500, 2K base, really good. And then you have commission on top of that, right? So understanding, like I said, what their day-to-day is, manually prospecting, building leads. Per meeting showed, biggest thing on this screen, do not pay somebody for just booking a meeting because you're incentivizing the incorrect thing in your business. What does the business actually want? Kind of exactly what Andre was talking about, right? Incentivizing people on what the business needs to do to grow, the more they'll do it. So where are you putting the carrot? Having a set qualification parameters, right? Just because you set a meeting and they show also doesn't mean that it's good for the business, right? Because if they set someone and they show up to the call, but they do $5K a month and you're asking for $7,000, it's not going to work. So they have to qualify and they have to make sure they show. They're going to be way, 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 way more diligent if that's how they get paid. Because if you're like, hey, you can book a call with a guy and he shows up, but you still might not make any money because he's not qualified. So he's going to be way more intentional about qualifying in their scenarios, right? For inbound, low dollar amount on sets, $25 for setting a meeting that's qualified and shows, and then a percentage of your revenue. Questions on this model? No? On average, a setter should make around 4 to 6K a month, depending on these models.
Have you noticed a difference between doing low dollar amount on sets versus just doing pay per set close?
Yes, because put yourself in the salesperson's shoes, right? Let's just say I did everything that you asked of me. I called a lot of people, I talked to a lot of people, I talked to them, I qualified them, they showed to the call. That's my job description. I should be paid for what you asked me to do, what's in my control. If the closer fumbles the bag, I shouldn't be penalized. Cool. So now, how do you understand how you can afford to pay them? Understand your margins, right? Would you rather pay a percentage if you have high margins? I would say yes. If you have low margins, like probably you guys deal with this with ListKit, right? You have low margins in a SaaS company. It's hard to pay per percentage, right? Because you don't want to get rid of your margins. Then you kind of resent the salesperson. Like, fuck, the setter and closer were involved in this deal. I get no money now, right? So if you can't do percentage, do bonus tiers. If you set 50 meetings, you get a $500 bonus. If you set 75, you get a dollar amount bonus, right? We have different tiers where they unlock different things. So if they hold a certain KPI for 3 months in a row, they get a higher percentage now, kind of like a video game, right? They prestiged. So instead of them getting 5% on a close set, and they have, say, a 20% set to show or set to close ratio for 3 months, from now on, they get 6%. So they make more money now because they've proved themselves to do something consistently. They get rewarded for that, right? And then understanding what your ticket price is, right? What is your current close rate plus the cash collected? Is that enough to sustain a salesperson, right? You've seen all these job things, all these memes, right? Like, oh, we have hot leads. Like, you can make 10 grand in this role. How? How? If they don't have enough calls on their calendar and the close rate's 20%, you have 10 meetings, they're closing 2 deals at a 10% of 5,000, they make $1,000. So doing the reverse calculation of how many opportunities do they actually have based on what we know about my business, what is the actual real, truthful amount of money this person can make? Because I can promise you, if you tell the salesperson on the interviews that they'll make 10 grand a month and they make 2 grand every month, they're gone. And you got to start over from scratch. Questions on this? How to understand how to pay salespeople?
I have a question more about like the cold calling. So if you hire a cold caller,
Yeah.
you pay them like per dials they do, or do you do?
No, because then they're just going to make dials, right? You're incentivizing the incorrect things.
I meant, okay, yeah, not necessarily per dials, but like it's also a base plus commission, like this type of strategy.
Yeah. You can have bonuses if they hit a certain number of dials in a month because you're incentivizing activity, and you know, given your metrics of connection percentage and show and conversation, that the more dials, the more money. So you incentivize them on the input.
That's around 4 to 6K too.
Yeah. Are you guys sure that you have no questions on this because none of you guys have sales teams?
Is it cheaper to hire a girl?
Yes, but if they're doing cold calling, you need to have, like, if you're calling Americans, you need to have Americans.
Can they just like connect to like my Go Hello, for example, and just use that
Use what?
like Go Hello and just use that dollar on there?
Yeah. Well, you just need to make sure that, like, would you talk to that person? Like, if you got called by this person overseas, would you actually pick up, have a conversation? Because in that instance of time, that person is your business. They are the ambassador to your company. That person is judging you, your business, your offer, and how legit you are based on that person's ability and skill. So sure, hiring a Philippines cold caller sounds great from a margins perspective, but will it actually work? You gotta test it. Probably not.
Very bad idea if you have an accent and you do cold calling. I mean, yeah, that's so much.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just a truthful fact, right? Now, hiring someone in London calling US works because it's a pattern interrupt, right? So sometimes an accent can help you. Australians crush it in US. So that's everything I got, guys. So full Q&A. Questions?
That was great, bro. I would say, for cold calling, what would you say? I mean, I've seen a million scripts, I guess, per se.
Yeah.
Cold calling, how to do it effectively. What would you say is like your main points on how to have an efficient and, good cold call to get a meeting?
Yeah, let me pull up the, this fucking resolution is crazy, bro. So this is the scripts right here. So this is the best opener, and I've done tens of thousands of cold calls. This right there will work better than anything else. Yeah. If it. That.
What does it say?
Hey, is this Andre? Hey, Andre, this is Dylan. We haven't spoken before. I'm calling you out of the blue here. It's going to take me like 30 seconds to tell you why I called, and then you can tell me if you even want to keep talking after that. Does that sound fair? Key thing here is, does that sound fair? Key thing is saying we haven't spoken before. I'm calling you out of the blue. Don't do the whole like, this is a cold call, you can hang. Why would you say you can hang up? They're going to hang up. Like, don't even say the word hang up. Don't say the word cold call. Just say I'm calling you out of the blue because you are calling them out of the blue. It's going to take me 30 seconds to tell you why I called, and then you can decide if you want to keep talking. Is that a fair proposition? Does that sound fair? You give me 30 seconds, I tell you why I called you, and then you make the decision if it sounds good. That's a fair proposition. You're optimizing for a yes. Once you get the yes, then you have what we call as our 30-second commercial, or the hook. And the hook is essentially this. So you want to say what you do. So I'm calling from automated revenue. we work with high-ticket business owners to help place pre-trained qualified appointment setters and cold callers in their business. Now, high-ticket businesses usually come to work with us for one of two reasons. Now, these two reasons are super important. They should be the adverse of each other. So what do I mean by that? So usually companies come to work with us is because A, they're not getting enough appointments on the calendar, or they are getting enough appointments on the calendar, but they have low show rates and low close rates. There is no in between of that. You either are booking a bunch of calls, or you already book calls, but you have another problem. So you're optimizing for resonation of those problems. Once they say which one they care about the most, then only divert and fork your conversation into what they actually care about talking. If the guy is like, yeah, we need more appointments on the calendar, and you're like, cool, and then you go to a totally random different thing, and you lost the person and you just shot yourself in the foot. So if they say, yeah, we don't get enough calls on the calendar, then only dig into that point because they just told you, I care about this thing. So talk to them about what they care about. And then take the conversation and progress it from there.
What's like the best time for a cold call, like time duration?
Depends on who you're calling. So understanding, like, if you're calling yourself, when are you free for a cold call?
No, not that. I mean time, like duration, like 3 to 5 minutes, 5 to 10
Oh,
minutes. What does it matter?
as long as it takes, but don't go too deep in the weeds. So the problem with like business owner, founder-led sales with cold calling is that you guys know so much about your thing that you can get super granular. So also another thing that business owners get messed up is like, you don't have to book an appointment, right? If you're getting into a really good conversation, be cognizant and be like, hey man, I know we're kind of like having a good conversation here. I know I called you totally out of the blue here. Do you got like an extra like 5-10 minutes? I don't want to like totally kill your day if you had something planned. And he's like, no, yeah, I got time. Great. You just had an impromptu sales call. Or he's like, yeah, I actually do have a meeting coming up. Okay, great. Let's schedule a call. So both options are to your advantage. But check in. Because the last thing you want to do, right? Like it's 12:24, guessing that he has, say it's 12:28, right? You don't want to go deep into the weeds and he's like, oh shit, I got a call, I got to jump. And you're like, fuck, I'll send you an email.
Yeah.
Be like, oh, it's 12:28. I'm going to check in with him. Be like, hey man, I know it's coming to the half-hour mark here. Assuming you're a busy business owner, you might have a 12:30 call. Do you got some time to keep chatting, or do you want to schedule something later this week to finish the conversation? Yeah.
It's wild how everyone uses Gamma now.
Yeah.
Gamma's great.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Work,
Cool, guys.